He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minutes!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minutes of the Phantasm. This is the podcast where we'd never change our plans, which are to look at every minute of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
Well, Niall, you say that, but our original plan certainly wasn't to get this far, but we're happy we have. I'm your other host, John Parker.
Yeah, and we have, as is our usual way, two guests here today. The two guests who know each other, but have never been on the show together at the same time. I don't think so, anyway, at least.
It turns out they've probably done it every year and you've just forgotten.
No, but this is Sean German and Molly Plissken.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, thank you very much for having us. Yeah.
Hi, Sean.
But hey, yeah, always a joy to have you two guys on individually. So it's lovely to get you put together for this. So a big week in the old Batman lore with this one as well. So. And it opens with minute 34, which begins with a fatherly face, and it ends a minute later with some foreshadowing flapping. So yeah. You two get a nice little vocal. Oh, actually, before we even get into all the actual minute, also like the setup where the guests are coming at this movie from, because Mask of the Phantasm, very like renowned Batman film, but like not wildly seen by a lot of the sort of general public. So we're always kind of like, were you guys familiar with this film beforehand? Did you see it in the theaters when it came out? Like, where are you coming from with this thing?
Sean, you want to take it first?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever heard of it, and
really,
this is like, and the fact that you're now referencing that it was in the theaters. It surprised me. I thought this was like a TV movie, but
well, that says it all right there. That you didn't even know that it.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it before watching it and preparing for the podcast, so it's all new to me.
Wow. What about you, Molly?
I knew about it, but I guess because maybe I was just a really bitchy teenager. I just thought, and I really didn't like Scooby-Doo, so my impression of this movie was that it was going to be Scooby-Doo-like, and I thought it was going to be condescending to me as a kid, and so I was like, this movie, and so I never saw it, even though I'm a huge fan of the animated series, and I totally watched it, when it came out, and this is the first time I saw it as an adult, and I love being wrong. I love prejudging things incorrectly and being wrong, and this is one of the most, in recent memory, wrong media takes I've had, because it's excellent.
Oh.
So I'm so stoked to be here and to be wrong.
Oh, that's what we want to hear. Did you end up liking it as well, Sean? Or?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Feel free to be honest, by the way.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it. I did like it. I did not like it as much as The Killing Joke, which apparently I've heard is like not well regarded.
Yeah, like the animated Killing Joke movie. I think you're the only person I've ever heard say like, "Oh yeah, that was great."
But that's what makes it interesting. Like you can have all these different takes on Batman stuff, and you might not be as familiar maybe with. Did you read The Killing Joke? I'm assuming not. If you like the animated one.
Yeah, no, I have since read it, but I think I saw the animated one before reading the graphic novel.
How did you guys get on though in terms of like did you suss out mid movie like who the Phantasm was or anything, or like was it a revelation? You're like, oh my god.
Oh, I was super wrong. I totally
No, yeah, just I had no idea. It was like completely out of nowhere. It was just a huge twist for me. And then I went back and kind of watched it again, and then I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, the clues are there, but I just didn't pick up on them first time through.
That's the good thing. It's not like so crazy a reveal that you're like, what? No.
Although I suppose, Molly, if you're coming in to it with like a it's just like a big Scooby-Doo mystery, which I guess it kind of is in a weird way. You might have been like, I guess it was like the janitor at the future world they went to.
Oh my god.
It's usually the janitor.
Right. It's one of, I don't know, maybe it's like a Westworld thing. But I really thought it was the councilman. Like halfway through, I was like, oh, I got this totally shored up. It's the councilman. Like he's...
Oh,
yeah.
What? We've been going all season, like I read somewhere that someone was going like, oh, the obvious red herring of Arthur Reeves, and I've never thought it was him. And every guest we've had on, I've gone to them like, would you have thought it was Arthur Reeves? And they've all said, oh no, I never would have assumed it was him. So you're the first person to be like, I thought it was him. Oh my
god, that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, so there was a certain point I was like, oh, okay, it's obviously Andrea. But no, I was really, again, feeling really good about myself that I had called it early and read the signs, so it was totally wrong.
So one of the red herring they were trying to set up, though, like, it's obviously Andrea's father. Like unanimously, everyone was like, oh, no, it's not. Like,
no, of course not. It's
very clearly
it's too obvious. It's too easy. Like, imagine if that was the reveal. You'd be like, okay, great.
Is it the reveal that it was, in fact, the janitor from the World of Tomorrow when he was like trying to, I don't know, drum up like the land prices, and he would have got away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling
bat.
Oh, but talking about Andrea's father, we start to go back in time once again. I love the fact that they have to put in the little vocal reminder too, of like, because again, it's a movie for kids. Ostensibly, they're going to be like, we better tell them. We better have him say that's Andrea's father, just in case people are like, who's that guy? Like, well, it's some guy in a suit in a black and white photo. I don't understand who this is supposed to be.
Because unfortunately, kids, they're stupid. They are.
Here's a weird thing though, and I just realized, because we talked about this photo a lot last minute. It's so strange that, like, oh yeah, this isn't Sal Balestra's house. And, like, one of the photos he has up on his wall is, like, a picture of Carl Beaumont. It's like, was he under the impression that him and Carl were actually like, oh, we're really good friends. Yeah, we're great, but beyond all the whole having to kill him thing and all that business, and then extorting him for lots of money. Beyond that, we were the best of pals. I had a great time for Carl.
Well, that's the kind of thing friends do to each other,
But... Or it's like, it's the only photo he got taken with the rest of the guys, and he's like, I can't really cut him out of the picture, so...
You need to get better at Photoshop.
Yeah. I guess this is 1940/1992,
right.
So I'm not too sure what state Photoshop's in at the minute.
But someone still had to spend time to frame it. So he either had an underling, like, hey, Guido, frame this for me. Like, go down to the shop and get me a really nice frame for this. Or he did it himself. So, there was some intentional care. Like, somebody had a cognac, was like, I'm going to, frame this memory and put it up on the wall. There's a lot of intentionality there.
Yeah. It seems like it's got a real pride of place. Like the cherished memories of his night out with Carl and the guy.
Maybe it was a gift from Carl there.
Oh,
like here's a picture of us, the gang all together,
and you've got to hang that up if someone gives you it, because it'll look rude, even if you don't want it on the wall.
Right.
You're like, I guess I've got
if
to.
They come over and it's not. Oh, where's that picture? Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just, getting it cleaned.
Yeah. Maybe that's now that he thinks that maybe the Phantasm is the ghost of Carl Beaumont. He's like, I better get that picture back up in case he shows up. Look, Carl, look at all the good times we had.
Well, yeah. So he gave framed copies of that picture to everyone who's in it, and then the people who didn't hang the picture up, he's now coming back to get his revenge for not liking the gift.
I like our version of the story better.
Yeah. That's what the actual, like, he thinks like the hand thing, the Phantasm's got going on, is actually like a hammer, and just puts out a little nails up the pictures.
Oh
no. But yeah, of course, then we go back to the past. So again, and then we get because there's already going to be some like very, very heavy foreshadowing in this minute. Mm-hmm. But just then seeing the shape of Wayne Manor, it's just like, oh, it's kind of like it's got big bat ears popping out the top. So it's just like it really was just like the the universe is really crafting this guy's entire life, basically, from the word go. This is like, look at the shape of your house, Bruce. Does it give you any ideas at all?
If you could have a house in the shape of an animal, what would it be? That was a great question.
It was.
A giraffe, maybe?
Oh.
I'd have
that's
like my
kinda-
layer up in the head on top of a tall neck.
Yeah.
So you want to live in one of those revolving restaurants?
Yes.
That would be kind of cool, I'll be honest.
Yeah, but this depends though. Are you taking like an elevator up there, or is it stairs every time? Because if it's stairs,
Oh no, it's elevator. It's gotta be.
oh thank God for that. Because otherwise it's like, geez, Sean, like unless you're like really trying to work on like your cardio or something, it's just like,
Yeah.
holy moly, man, it's a death sentence you're asking for right there.
Yeah. I'd never leave. I'd go up and I'd just stay up there.
Because once you put like it was on the back, you could have it as an escalator.
Oh.
And you go up and then like the
Oh,
doors
there
at
you
the back
go.
of the
Yeah.
giraffe's head. So there you go.
And then to come down, you don't need to use an elevator or an escalator. It can operate like a helter-skelter slide.
Ah, there you
Yeah,
go.
slide. Oh.
Yeah. Have you any animals you want to live in, Molly?
Oh, I mean, my first thought was like a cheetah, which I mean, doesn't even make any kind of real living sense. I just think it would look cool, like an aerial view of a cheetah house.
Hell yeah, that would look awesome. See, I want to live inside of a TomTom.
Oh.
I was gonna say, and is it on its side so you kind of roll in
Of
like
course,
you're
yeah.
Luke trying to stay warm on hot?
And for authenticity, it would have to stink.
Yeah, it's been like every guest you have,
Oh,
then it'll
yeah.
be like, oh, jeez, I thought John's house smelled bad on the outside.
That's what people always say when they come around, yeah.
But I bet it's warm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Better believe it.
This is just from being Liverpool, I'd have to go octopus, because then I could be sitting like in an octopus's garden in the shade.
How dare you have a clever, witty one?
That's why I made everybody else go first, so I could sit and mull over for a couple of minutes.
Buy time.
But it's weird though, as we pan down though, because we got there is another weird, like there's a little weird tower that looks like it has a needle on top. Could be like an observatory. Could be like that's where because they're right by the bay, so I guess that could be like the lighthouse, maybe.
Well, that's his revolving restaurant.
No.
As he does all his whining and dining.
There's like some strange symbol by, I guess it's like the door to that tower.
Yeah, I was wondering about that myself. Like, what did you interpret that as being? That simple?
I mean, it could be like a person with their arms outstretched and just like a big oval head, but I'm not really sure what it is.
That sounds like a symbol you'd get for a very modern church. They always have weird, like fancy logos, not just crosses. They're like, oh no, we're hip, we're cool.
It kind of looks like
Right,
that, but it's got like the arms outstretched and then there's lines coming down as if it were a cape. So it could be like this is another one of Bruce's, like when you drew that like prototype bat outfit earlier that had no bat elements to it. He's like, oh, it looks terrible, but like, I already painted it in the door though. So now I'm gonna look stupid if I don't do something with the cape. Basically, go over. You see in later episodes of the show, he's painted bat ears on top of it too. So like, it's kind of works now. Yeah, the secret entrance to the Bat Cave, right by that as well. But,
I love it.
yeah.
Now, you know what? When I first watched this, though, I didn't realize this was Wayne Manor at first because it looks so different. This insane, like, cliff edge that they're walking along. No other shot of it, like, in this movie, does it look like it's situated in this location. So I thought, oh, Bruce has got, like, a holiday home.
Yeah.
You know, a summer house.
No, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. But it's, like, I think it's one of those things that Wayne Manor looks whatever way they needed to look for the particular scene. But
I kind of respect that. Like, it doesn't matter. There's no continuity. I don't care.
yeah. Because I know we end on a very ominous symbol, like an ominous foreshadowing, an omen, as it were. But I think as well, this seagull that lands here too might be a bad sign because, like, I'm assuming, like, you know, we know other bat people who have had unfortunate dealings with seagulls in other films. So like, I like to think maybe Bruce accidentally killed a seagull before the scene even started too, and then after, like, at the end of the movie, they had to cut out a bit of like Andrea saying like, it was ye who doomed us, Bruce. Ye when you killed that seabird.
I would love it if Andrea spoke like an old sailor throughout. She's fond of Bruce's lobster.
Yeah.
Oh.
Too much of a giveaway though. Like the Phantasm kept showing him going like, "Ye's angel of death await ye," or whatever. I was like, it could be Carl Beaumont, but he didn't speak like that. His daughter exclusively spoke like that though for some reason. No one knows where she got it from.
Well, if the rest of the movie is crafted perfectly now, no one will know anyway. They'll get away with it.
I'm hoping that everyone here is familiar, everyone listening is familiar with The Lighthouse too, otherwise that joke is not going to work whatsoever. So.
Lighthouse Minute coming soon.
Oh, man.
That would be a genuinely good one though, Lighthouse Minute.
Yeah.
You'd slowly descend into madness, like in the movie.
But then, you've already sold it to me. You don't need to sell it to me even more.
Now, I have a problem. It's with what Andrea says, right? Because they're having their nice little stroll, and she mentions how her dad is going to Europe. And this is my pet peeve. And I don't want to tar everyone with the same brush, but it seems to be Americans say this a lot. You can't go to Europe necessarily. It's so big. It's like, where's he going? England? Germany? Czech Republic? Russia? That's half of that's in Europe. Where the hell's he going?
Yeah, maybe he's got a long-winded old trip. He's like, oh, I'm going to hop around from here, there, and everywhere. And
Maybe.
like, yeah.
I still wouldn't say that, though. I don't know. It's odd when it's such different, diverse countries.
I think I can forgive it, though. Because if they're going on like an indefinitely long trip, and he's like, oh, where are you going to? Like, well, we're going to a bunch of different countries. We're going to Europe. Like, we're going to be around Europe, basically. So I think I can let it go.
Maybe accept. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I acknowledge it's a pet peeve. Like, it's a silly thing to, care about. Because, I mean, we say, oh, I'm going to Africa. So that's stupid as well. It's huge,
Yeah. Well, maybe her father hasn't told her. I mean, he hasn't said when they're coming back or when he's coming back. So maybe he just said Europe to keep it vague.
Because he does also specifically say too, like, I don't know when we'd be coming back. And this whole thing to me, this whole scenario now is actually like a red flag, because I'm thinking Carl Beaumont at this point, because she's saying like, oh, it's some hush hush deal. He can't really tell me anything about it. Carl Beaumont's already planned to f*** off. Like, he's just going like, yeah, we're getting out of here. Like I said, we're going to Europe. What about Bruce? I'll tell him whatever. I don't. We'll be back, quote unquote, sometime. But who cares? We have to go now. And also, I'm thinking, because at this point, in the relationship with Bruce, I guess she's seen him like, freaking down his knees in front of his parents' grave and been like sort of seeming very mentally unstable, basically.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point as well if Andrea is literally about to break up with Bruce, and she's like, well, I'm going to go to Europe, and and it's only because he then takes out the ring and is like, look, I'm ready to commit, that she's like, oh, thank God, because she's probably still like, he's still going, he has this plan, and he seems like he's a bit nuts, and like, he asked me if I wanted to get nuts, and I was like, I wasn't too sure, so...
That's how you woo a lady, isn't it? You want to get nuts. Come on.
Do you consent to getting nuts?
If I get married, I'm putting that in the vows.
It just comes with like a little drawing of a fire poker on it. Like a smashed face on the other side.
Do you both promise to get nuts together?
Come on.
That'd be amazing. No, but I like that because, my first thought was that he wasn't just going to disappear off. I thought it was a legitimate business trip. I hadn't considered that that's a lie, and that's why he says Europe, because he wants to keep it vague.
Yeah, because I think then later on when you see the sort of other half of the beginning of the scene that's in the second minute here. There's a flashback of Andrea going and talking to that, and he's instantly like, "Go get your bag. We're leaving tonight." Like it's. I really think he is already going like, no, we're getting out of here, and you're coming with me. And because in many ways it could be just like, well, I'm going to Europe for a business trip. You can stay here with Bruce, but she's like, no, we're both going to Europe, and we'll be back sometime. It's like, no. He's Audi 5000. This guy, and he doesn't. His plan to maybe smooth some money off Bruce isn't going fast enough. So he's just like, okay, all right, well. the light just turned green, so let's go.
And it's it's always a good sign when when your father is doing a hush deal he won't tell you something about, right? Yeah. That always ends well. Have you not seen Twin Peaks?
It's on the QT and very hush.
Oh.
To quote Oswald Cobblepot himself in LA Confidential, of course. I did also note as well, though, because as the transition happens, we do get like another little bit of operatic music. We did say during the first week, like the opening credits, all the vocals are like the names of people who worked on the movie backwards. I'm just wondering if they kept it up here. Is it still like, now we've gone into like the art department now, or like, now the best boy's getting. I suppose it wouldn't be a best boy. I don't think you need a best boy in an animated movie, but just wondering now who they've wandered into here, like they have to keep this thing going. I think though as well, also now the first week has aired. In those episodes as well, we're like, I wonder if anyone's ever gone and like reversed the music so they can make out the names, or just to see what it sounds like and stuff. And of course, listener Jeff Hamill out there posted in the listeners' cave like, yes, somebody did do that, and I was like, I never knew that. Looked at the video, and a bizarre thing went down. The top comment is from me 10 years ago.
Oh no!
So apparently, I did know about it.
What's going on? You're turning into me, forgetting everything.
But somebody has identified the names. They're made out through the music. Any bizarre twist of fate. So just zip through some of them here, because the reason they did it for this in this manner is because they're not credited anywhere else. A lot of these people, and so the first one is Nilk Can Earth Log. Which is Joel Franklin.
Okay.
Yeah, Joel Franklin himself. And he's this guy that did a bunch of different random stuff. He's just one of these busybodies about Hollywood. He was like a supervising copyist on The Nightmare Before Christmas. And yeah, he's and he just everything on his IMDb is just like, he did like he's a technician on this and that, all that kind of business. Then you have which one you can make out. Oh, Nalimat.
Well, you can, because you're clever.
But that's the beginning of the Oh, Nalimat.
Sounds like you're going Kalima.
But that's a guy called Tom Milano. You might know his daughter, Alyssa Milano.
Oh.
Hey.
Yeah. Apparently, Alyssa, there's a Milano dynasty. Like her mom as well is like a producer and stuff. I didn't realize it. The current popular term Nepo baby applies to Alyssa Milano. But yeah, apparently that's where
the West Coast Milanos.
Yeah, good. Yeah, very much so.
I love the way I just said I don't know where the hell she's from.
West Coast sounds about right.
Yeah. It seemed plausible.
Yeah,
they're from Europe.
yeah. Europe.
Europe,
That was through doing that though. It was only the other day I realized like, listen, and I was thinking about like we joked about, and I put the joke up on Facebook then about like we mentioned it many times last season, John, about like Arnie's ridiculous character names and things.
Yeah.
And then of course in Commando he's called John Matrix.
Yeah.
And then only realized like, his daughter's Jenny, so she's Jenny Matrix. I was like,
Jenny Matrix.
And right after you go on Alyssa Milano's IMDb, it's like Jenny Matrix. Like, oh my god, should just be calling her Jenny Matrix the whole movie, just to make it sound even cooler.
Only ever say her name in full.
Yeah. But Tom Milano apparently worked on something called Dream Maniac, which is in 1986. And just from the name Dream Maniac, you're like, it's a Nightmare Before Elm Street ripoff, isn't it? It's like, yes, it is. The brief plot line is a heavy metal musician makes a deal with a satanic succubus to make him successful with women. In return for this, the succubus then is allowed to feed on the girls. I was hoping it was going to be like a real hive of like, before they were famous people. No.
Oh.
No one you have heard of is in Dream Maniac.
That would be a good podcast series as well. Somebody covering all the crappy knockoffs of popular movies.
Yes.
I was really hoping they were going to do that in Mogwai Minute when they stopped with Gremlins. It's like, all right, now you go on to Critters and Ghoulies and all the crap that was just ripping off Gremlins. Okay, let's go. And then they were just like, no, we refuse to do that.
I get it.
Yeah. He also then worked on something called Madhouse with Kirstie Alley and John Larroquette. And then I just noted, because the plotline says the luxurious villa of a yuppie couple is overrun by loads of uninvited guests who turn the house upside down and nearly destroy it.
Wait, is it Mother?
That's what I was saying. But I was saying, it's like, oh, Darren Aronofsky remade that as Mother a couple of years ago.
Noted hack.
But yeah, and then obviously, there's a whole bunch of because you got the Eat Uzi Tap, which is Patti Zamiti. And then one of them, actually, we brought it up a couple of weeks ago, but is Roar Miss N, which is Hans Zimmer. Because we mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Hans Zimmer did all the keyboard work. He did all the synth work in this movie, apparently. So, but yeah,
okay.
just so there we go. Verification that apparently, yes, someone has indeed reversed the music, and you can, in fact, make out the names. And I'm hoping now people are enjoying that we successfully did it, John. When the first week we said, like, we're going to try to reverse sing the thing backwards, and it's there. So, 10 weeks later, mission accomplished.
Quality may vary.
Yes.
Did you guys get a succubus out of it too? Did you call like a succubus down once you played it backwards?
I mean, I already was in league with a succubus, so it was an easy transaction.
Oh, that's great.
I'll give you all the details, Molly, but it's very hush-hush.
I totally understand. I appreciate that.
We're not too sure when the succubus is going to be back, quite frankly.
Oh, wow. She told me to meet her in Europe. That'll be easy, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But yeah. So then we get the thing about. I love everything about this minute. These next 3 minutes, I love everything. I love literally everything about them. But just the animation on Bruce throughout this entire endeavor now of him actually, both the way he's animated and in his actions, trying to propose to Andrea, it's so perfectly on brand for Bruce to not actually be able to say, like, will you marry me? Or, this whole thing is that he's so shut off and closed off from people. And he's a doer. Like, he's a guy, like, I need to become the world's greatest detective. I just went and did it. Like
Arnold, yeah.
Yeah, exactly like Arnold. And then when it comes down to, like, having to ask someone, having to emotionally engage with them and say, like, would you want to be with me? Like, he's not used to having to do it because it's just him and the butler the whole time. So he's just like, I just usually just do what I want because I'm able to just go and do it. And I have the will to do that. But now it's like... and then so he just has to be like, here. you get the idea, you know?
See, it totally fits Bruce's character. It absolutely does. But it's also like, come on, man, put some effort in. I know you're awkward, but it's rude.
It is.
He's been watching too much Rude Dog. This is the problem.
That's what it is, yeah. Because, he hands her the ring box and just goes, here, you'll get the idea. It's like, screw you! That's not how anybody wants to be proposed to. At least try.
Yeah. And then follows it up with, what do you say?
Yeah, it's like...
Oh, gee, how can you say no to that?
It's like he's invited her out to, like... I don't know, just go get an ice cream. Something. It's like, hey, what do you say? Come on.
I mean, at least, like, take her out for, like, burgers or something and, just, like, smash the ring in the burger. At least give some kind of... I mean, this really is the lowest effort, shittiest proposal I've ever seen depicted in any piece of media. It's the laziest crap ever. I mean, he literally just, like, tossed her the box, was like, F it, you figure it out,
You idiot. You clod.
I love that it's now me against 3, where I was like, oh, I really like this.
No, I love it, though, because that's Bruce. That's Bruce. Yeah. Like, it's perfect. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, I like, that this is a different side of Bruce, because we see... Even when he's being the cad, even when he's like the billionaire playboy sort of Bruce, he's all in. He's, like you said, he's doing it. Where this is the vulnerable side that we usually don't see. So I think the scene is great, and I think this is like the worst proposal ever.
Yeah, they can both be true.
They can.
It might be just like also there's a level of intimidation. It's like I took her out to the jagged rocks. So she's not going to say no. Why would she say no? Because she I would never do anything, but she thinks that I might because of the implication.
The implication, yeah.
The implication: we're in a secluded spot, just loose rocks. She could fall off the cliff, and no one would know.
He's conveniently, dispatched of the butler.
Yeah.
No witnesses.
Alfred's is there, just like making sure the door's locked on the other side in case anybody walks in. Yeah, it's around like it's probably like a lot of like fake like first draft proposals, like next to the crumpled up paper where he was drawing that Batman outfit and stuff, or the not Batman outfit, where he's just like, oh, marry me or you'll be gull feed on the rocks below. No, it's no good.
But he didn't even drive her somewhere. Like there's no restaurant. There's not even drive-through. There's nowhere. It's just like roll to my house. We'll hang out.
Hang on, that's an excellent point I hadn't considered. Right? Okay, I know he lives in a beautiful house, but still, it's your house.
Have a
Take
beautiful
her
life.
somewhere that's not just your home. You lazy piece of crap.
Well, if I may be that guy on the internet and play devil's advocate, it could be though that like Andrea has just swung by herself to go like, oh, we're going to Europe, Bruce, and this might be the last time I see her for a while. And that's why he's caught unawares, and that's why he's just like, he just grabbed the ring. And he's like, oh, whatever. Although there is also the weirdness of her being out in like this little, basically wearing like a slip, out in like this windy, jagged rock, cliff face that they're out on.
Oh, and I love the animation on it. Like it looks really cool, like blowing in the breeze, doesn't it?
I guess Bruce does have a type though, because it's like some Chase Meridian would do. Like just when she's out on top of the top of the friggin' police headquarters with the bat signal, just wearing a nightie. But like, oh no, it's like, aren't you freezing to death? Chase, like, no, I'm totally fine.
No, women wear negligees and lingerie at all times. What are you talking about?
I think that was some of your minutes as well, Molly, if I remember.
Yes, it was.
It's bizarrely coincidental.
Yeah.
But whenever there's a woman who should be freezing to death on screen, Molly Plissken is never far behind.
That's going to be your thing.
I thought. I like that take that Bruce was not necessarily planning this moment to propose, but she's leaving, doesn't know when she's going to be back, kind of forces it. But then that makes me think, is he just walking around with this ring in his pocket at all times?
This is his get out of jail free ring, where he's like, if any crisis, he's like, oh wait, no, have this ring.
Yeah, if in emergency break glass, he's got it like behind him.
It's like he's not got the correct change. He's like, oh, just take this diamond ring. You'll get what's that, like $60 or something?
You'll get the idea.
Maybe he does genuinely have it in his pocket though, because I think if I was going to be proposing, I'd be so nervous, and you want to pick the right moment. And I probably would have had that ring in my pocket for 6 weeks. But then again, it feels like they've known each other for 6 minutes.
Could be like like a lot of guys carry around like a condom in their wallet, like just in case. And they're kind of building up to being like, well, you never know, I might get lucky. Bruce is always like, well, you never know, I might get engaged. So,
sometimes that just happens on a night out.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, thank God, Alfred didn't take the ring out of my pants. Usually he leaves them by like the shower whenever he's.
It's gone into the washing machine by mistake. Like when you accidentally leave it like a post-it note in your pocket or something.
They have to get out like the technician again. He's like, is it another diamond ring in the washing machine, Alfred? Yes, it's jamming up the gears again. Sorry, I should have checked.
I had a to-do list in my pocket the other day when I did my washing, and that was a mess. That was a mess. I had to put the stuff through another 2 times to get rid of all the crap.
But the thing that I particularly love in the animation is that face that Bruce makes when he says, like, what do you say? That expression he has. I don't think we ever see him have that expression. It's completely new to him. Like in terms of any other episode of the show, anything prior to this, he never has that sort of bemused, very vulnerable, just sort of like rubbing the back of his head, just like, he's kind of half smiling, he's half nervous. Like, that's not the Bruce Wayne we ever see. No. It's so off model for him. And even kind of like, I wrote that and then was reading the novelization. And they even mentioned too, like, yeah, he could feel facial muscles that he had never experienced his face moving into before as he was doing it. Because again, the guy he's not used to this level of vulnerability. So
that's why it's so good. That's why it's perfect. This is like the real person underneath everything.
Yeah.
And he's flawed, and he is crap at interactions.
Yeah, I really like that they address that, because usually when we get sort of the origin story, it's the Waynes leaving the theater and the Pearls and Crime Alley and like that part of his background. And I don't know if there's a lot of other things that I've seen or read that talk about the adult Bruce, but pre-Batman, this stage of his life. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the film.
Yeah, this everything that happens in this week too is like it takes on a spin to the Batman mythos that it's very unique to this film. In that, like, we'll get to it becomes relevant at the end of this minute too. Like, as Michael Caine would say in Batman Begins, like, why bats, Master Wayne? And it's usually always down to like, well, it freaking fell in a bat cave or a bat threw in through the window, which doesn't happen in this movie. And
Thank God, I'm sick of seeing that.
Yeah, but in this though, it's just like, it's like they add in extra motivation to why he specifically goes with a bat outfit and stuff, and it's like it's one of those ones I'm not too sure that they get to just dive into it now or wait until the next minute we also see the bats or whatever the deal is, but.
I reckon there's a bit more bat action in the next one. I think he saved that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read the script and there was a moment where I was just like, what? After he presents this ridiculous giant diamond, which is very Bruce Wayne as well, because I can afford anything. The script describes it thusly. It says, she opens the box, and inside it is an engagement ring with a glittering diamond big enough to choke the proverbial horse.
Oh.
I was like, is that a phrase? Am I just unaware of this phrase?
I don't know that I would have used that phrase for this context.
No. It's so... I mean, it's a script. It's not going to be on screen. Maybe they just feel like, let's have a bit of fun with it. I don't know.
It just makes me think of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, though, when it's like, he's like going like the proverbial.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've heard of people saying, it could stun a horse. I know that's a phrase, but I've never
choke a horse. Maybe that is a thing, and I'm just not aware. And even if it is, I've never heard it in this usage.
Has anyone here ever choked a horse to know how big a diamond would have to be in order to...
No. Gosh, that'd be awful.
I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger punches that camel in the Conan. That's close.
It's a diamond ring big enough to punch a camel with.
I suppose you could knock a camel out if you were wearing a diamond ring.
That's true.
Because the wrestler Maxwell Jacob Friedman, he always knocks people out with his giant ring. That he has to win it every year, and he's won it every year it's existed. It's just a giant, stupid ring like this.
Yeah. I think like the Arnie would have to boast though, like no ring required. I'm able to knock out donkeys all by myself.
Arnold.
It's a camel, you idiot. Whatever. I knock out a lot of animals, okay?
Well, it's close enough. It's the horse of the desert. I mean, that was a joke, but thinking about it, that is kind of true, I suppose. They are used in the same context.
I'm sure there's probably a lot of camel rental places literally have that as their slogans. Like, it's the horse of the desert.
Yes.
Like, what's the appeal of a camel? Don't make me tap the sign.
I did also, for some stupid reason, spend a ridiculous amount of time looking up the history of the engagement ring.
Oh.
I thought you were going to go into, like, blood diamonds or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. It's like, how many blood diamonds does it take to choke a horse?
This show's going to get very serious for the next 2 minutes, where I just give you a history on how terrible the industry is. No, I looked up the history of engagement rings because I sat there and thought to myself, where do they come from? Why is that a thing? And brides.com, I took some info from, but a lot of other places back this up. They say, like so many of our customs today, engagement rings can be traced all the way back to ancient Rome. Which I found quite fascinating. And according to the Gemological Institute of America, what a great word, gemological, Roman women wore rings of ivory, flint, bone, copper, and iron to signify a business contract or to affirm mutual love and obedience. Which I suppose back then, probably one and the same. You know, love, obedience, that's a worrying word in there.
Yeah.
And business, kind of the same thing. But they say that because it's more like a ring we think of. But they also point out that ancient Egyptians would wear reed and hemp as a kind of ring like that. So I thought that was quite cool. But they weren't used in the modern context until 850, and that was when Pope. Hang on, where is it? Here we go. Pope Nicholas I declared that the engagement ring represented a man's intent to marry, with gold as the most popular material at the time. And the Cape Town Diamond Museum, I was going to joke that they probably know a bit about blood diamonds, but they said that the first diamond one was 1477. Archduke Maximilian of Austria proposed to Mary of Burgundy with the unpopular at the time diamond. He was just like, oh, this is cool. We're going with this. Yeah, and they didn't take off until 1947.
1947?
1947
Holy
is when
moly.
diamond rings became a thing. Because, surprise, surprise, the British company that mined diamonds in South Africa launched an advertising campaign. And with the help of Hollywood stars, they had a slogan, "A diamond is forever."
I like the old advertisements was like Danny Kaye choking a horse with a diamond.
Give it to your beloved. Choke a horse.
And they go for a junior model. It's so you could choke a frog with it. It's just...
I understand they look nice, but I think it's played out now, isn't it? You don't want to do a diamond, and apparently, current. Younger people. I was going to say our generation, but we're old now. The kids who've turned like 20 or 25. Apparently, they're not really buying them. They're buying other jewels. And I'm like, cool.
I've never been a fan of rings in general. Like I always I've never been engaged. But I think
someone proposed to Niall. Listeners, propose. Come on.
It's like, yep, whoever's first. First come, first serve. I've never really just it's just a personal thing. It was like, having a big clunky thing on your finger just doesn't appeal to me. But I don't know. You guys. I don't think both of you guys are married, right? So
yes.
Yes.
Do you what was your proposal like when were you taken out to the body strewn jagged rocks of your fiance, the back of his house or whatever?
You threw the box at him.
Yeah.
It was kind of a rolling thing. I think because I'd been harassing him about it. For an extended period of time, and then finally he took. FYI, I'm a Pisces, born in March, and so my ring is actually aquamarine, and that was what I requested. So I have an aquamarine engagement ring. So no, I got taken out to a bridge, which sounds stark, but I got taken out to a bridge.
Same vibes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is similar vibes, right? If you say no, I'm just gonna huck you off. And I really love Reese's peanut butter cups, so he gave me Reese's peanut butter cups in the ring.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Nice. Yeah. I was also just thinking, Molly, like you taking him out of this bridge, like if you don't propose to me now, I'm hucking you off the damn bridge. And also just had to say too, with any mention of Pisces though, it just always brings up now Jack Nicholson's Joker of like, I thought I was a Pisces.
Yes.
So, you can say you could just drop that in the conversation whenever you want. Molly, you're blessed.
Yeah, I did so. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm stuck over here, but a stupid Gemini.
About 3 people will understand, but yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, once you do it in the Jack Nicholson voice, everybody gets it. What about you, Sean? Like, what was your proposal? You just copying Molly's story.
Yeah, well, no.
That's exactly what happened to me as well.
Yeah, my proposal is not too far off from what we see here in the film, although it's not by a cliff. It was actually, I had intended at the time, my wife was working downtown in Boston, and this was back when pre-pandemic times when people actually went to offices to work. And my plan was to take her out to Boston Common, which is a kind of a big public park in the center of Boston, and do a little picnic and then propose to her there.
Perfect.
Except it was raining that day. It then rained, and I was kind of forced into it. I had already, I did the traditional thing of asking her parents, going to her mother and father and kind of asking for her hand. Which cute. I know some people will bristle at that, it kind of paints it more as an exchange of goods between, her father and myself. And I knew whatever they said, I was still going to propose, but I thought,
well, that's the difference, isn't it? You're not, these days it's not like I need permission. It's more like just a courtesy, because you're joining families essentially.
Right.
If Bruce did that too, that's why he went to Carl first, and that's why Carl was like, we're going to Europe. Pack your bags.
I've got to get her out of here before this crazy Batman, this this guy who's obsessed with bats and doesn't realize it yet. Hasn't he ever looked at his mansion? It's shaped like a goddamn bat. Gotta get away.
Everyone knows. Yeah. Everyone's talking about it behind his back. That guy's really into bats.
So I'd gone to Kat's parents and kind of said, I kind of asked, but was really just telling them, hey, I'm going to propose. And then at that point, I'm locked in. I have to do it now. I'm committed. So we ended up... She was working in the same building as the Boston Stock Exchange, and her company was in the process of moving spaces. So there was an abandoned conference room that was far off that no one was using, no one was going to come in. So we ended up just having a picnic in the conference room, and that's where I got down on my knee and pulled out the ring and said, what do you say?
Hey, why not? Come on.
In which case, and she also, like Molly, had been kind of hinting that because we had been dating for several years, and we'd actually been living together for I think 3 years at that point. And it was kind of obvious, we were together and we weren't gonna be seeing other people. So we were definitely headed in that direction. And she was definitely getting impatient with me. I could tell, especially when she said, "I'm getting impatient with you. You need to."
All of her hints were her saying to your face, "We need to get married."
Yeah, I picked up on the subtlety there. But and then if I didn't propose, she would have just thrown me out the window of this high rise where we were. So,
oh, how dare both of you have nice things? Yeah. How dare you have nice lives and families? Screw you.
I know it's yeah.
Don't worry, we're going to see Bruce Wayne's life fall apart here pretty soon, John. We're going to be set back into bad vibes.
Yeah. One of us.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's a happy ending. Eventually she leaves him and he just becomes an embittered loner. And
that happened to all of us. I'm sure the listeners can relate as well.
Yeah. But of course, in the continuity of the animated series, Bruce only ever gets this level of romantically involved to the point of engagement once again. And it's not a particularly good episode. It was one of the really late ones, back when they did the whole character redesign and stuff. He gets married to a woman called Susan McGuire in the episode Chemistry, which is a Poison Ivy episode. It's one of the last episodes they ever did in the animated series continuity. And it doesn't have much oomph to it. It's considering how much of a big deal Mask of the Phantasm is, and how Andrea Beaumont's name is it's echoed in through the comic lines that they brought her into continuity and everything.
Yeah.
No one ever talks about Bruce and Susan McGuire, because basically what happens is he meets Susan at Veronica Vreeland's fourth wedding. And falls madly in love with her. It turns out she's a plant person made by Poison Ivy in order to infiltrate the high society and get in and get rob money and have influence and stuff like that.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
The thing is, the episode ends Bruce having to lock her in a room on a boat, and the boat sinks. And then just see, as Batman, he's looking down from the bat jet as the boat's sinking, and he sees her face as she's going into the water. And I guess it's supposed to be well, she's not a real person, so doesn't matter. And it's just, it's so weird because it's just like Bruce Wayne got engaged. He was so in love with this woman that he actively got engaged to her. And it's really like, it's a 22-minute episode. And he's just like, whatever, never mentioned again. Unless you're supposed to just take it like, oh, because she's a plant person, it's obviously like Poison Ivy's been working the pheromones or whatever, so he wasn't really in love with her. But it never really goes into that. It's just like, he was in love with this lady. Turns out she wasn't real. Now she's dead. But hey, she was voiced by Linda Hamilton. So
I love her already.
Yeah. Tragically, Bruce's engagement in that episode wasn't quite as suave as his, what do you say? It was much more of a standard affair. But yeah. They do, of course, though, back in the past, Bruce and Andrea embrace. And then do got a little smooch show going here.
Oh, yeah. I was into that.
Yeah.
No, I actually found this very cute. I know we've been talking it through, so my feelings have changed a little bit. But initially, I thought this was very sweet because she seems genuinely really pleased. Mm-hmm. And, I got the vibe she thought, oh, he's never going to do that. She had accepted it almost like, I guess it's just not going to happen for us. That's not the kind of person he is.
She wasn't in the plan.
Yeah.
As she says. And then the plans changed.
She obviously wanted to get married. That must be something she's always wanted, maybe. So it seemed like she was genuinely like, oh my God, like this is great.
Yeah. I think that also sort of like added a bit of like, in my mind, a kind of credence to her, like maybe been on the verge of breaking up with Bruce because her actual dialogue, like I thought I was always, I was just throwing you a curveball. You never knew what to do with me because I wasn't in your plan. And it's just, they always feel like that in a relationship. To be going through this romance and always feel like the guy's got like at arm's length. I wouldn't be surprised if she was just like, you know what? I think we should take a break, Bruce. Like, I think I'm going to bounce. So then for him to be able to go like, look, I'm actually full on committing to this. And then saying I'm changing the plan. It's just like, well, that's it. All our problems are gone now. There's no signal of anything that could happen, though, to bring a kind of ominous bad vibe to the scenario right now.
No, not at all. He says I'm changing the plan. They have their kiss, really romantic. The end. Credits roll.
Yeah, they live happily ever after.
All that Batman stuff was just a dream. Yeah, we get some very, very loud and dramatic foreshadowing of a burst of bats coming up from a crack in the ground. Presumably where Bruce has thrown all his other past, rejected fiancés.
There's just a pile of bodies at the bottom. No, these bats have bloody ruined the romance.
Yeah. That's probably because they're like, oh, we're eating the night, boys. And they're all flying up together. They get sucking on her already.
I say that, though, ruining the romance. But then again, maybe Bruce needs a lady who's into bats.
Yeah.
I mean, Chase Meridian.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was right there, man.
She likes the molded plastic.
Goes Vicky Vale, too, where they're like, I really like bats. And I was like, there was some scenes in that first movie that were really, really awkward as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got several thoughts about the bat cloud, as it were. But should we save it for the next episode, do we think? Yeah. Has anyone got anything else they want to, parting shots for minute 34 they want to get into?
Nope. Noted out here.
Nothing from me.
Excellent. Then we will head off into the dark night. Would our guests like to tell people where they can be found online or promote anything you have coming up? Sean, why don't you go first today?
Sure. Well, I am from Next Scene Podcast, where we cover pop culture one scene at a time. That's at nextscenepod.com. And you can find all my podcasting stuff, my hosting, my guesting, guest appearances such as this one at my main site, which is at catandshawn.org.
And Molly?
Well, if you want to hear more from me, I was on Cabin Minute Cast with Heidi Bennett and Escape from New York Minute with Eric Deutsch, and was produced by Brad Mendenhall, and that's on growlermedia.com. And you can find me on Twitter at Dharma Soda Pop.
We'll check all of that out. And as usual, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just type it in, Bat Minute. And why don't you go to our network, Sleepy Charlie Media, on Patreon or TeePublic, We will be back on Wednesday with more Bat Minute of the Phantasm.
Next time, a cuddling couplet's celebrations are soon cut short by the sight of sinister silhouettes mid-discussion. Bruce and his sugar bumps bid farewell as Andrea ascends a stairwell. But as a ghoulish growling gangster guarding the gate flicks his midnight toque, could a utopian union be about to be broke? There's late night leering and leaving on Wednesday, Bat fans. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Must have top, dear fit,